Despite the new Unrivaled 3v3 basketball league leaving a roster spot open for Caitlyn Clark, the Indiana Fever guard reportedly won't be joining in January. Unrivaled unveiled the majority of the rosters for its 6 teams on Wednesday morning, with 34 of 36 total players announced. The league still has 2 wildcard spots available, and one place was likely reserved for Clark in case she changed her mind. The league was originally slated to have just 30 spots, but a boom in investment increased the number to 36. Games will be aired on both TNT and Max. But Clark will turn down a reported $1 million, per ESPN, as she prioritizes rest and an escape from the spotlight during her first WNBA offseason. The 22-year-old spent the last 12 months constantly in the spotlight. Clark chased and eventually broke the all-time NCAA scoring record while at Iowa before leading the Hawkeyes to the national championship game in March. She was selected by the Fever with the first overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft. Just weeks later, led the team to the playoffs for the first time in 8 seasons. A historic stat line earned her the league's Rookie of the Year honor. Clark has mostly laid low this offseason, beside from an appearance at the Annika LPGA Pro-Am tournament. When asked by the Indianapolis Star if she had any interest in joining Unrivaled last month, she said, "We'll see. I don't know. Just taking it as it goes, and see if I want to play eventually." Unrivaled president Alex Basil practically admitted the league held the 2 extra wildcard spots in case Clark expressed a sudden interest in joining. "We're always going to have a roster spot for Caitlyn Clark," he told Sportico. "We're not applying a full court press the way people think. She knows that we have a spot for her when she's ready." Some of Clark's former and current teammates will take part in the 3v3 league. Kate Martin shared the court with Clark for 4 seasons at Iowa. She'll team up with Kelsey Plum and Alyssa Thomas for the Laces Basketball Club. Aaliyah Boston of the Indiana Fever will join stars Arike Ogunbowale and Ryan Howard with the Vinyl Basketball Club under the guidance of former Chicago Sky coach Teresa Witherspoon. Caitlyn Clark will not be taking her talents to South Beach, a report claimed Wednesday. The WNBA superstar had been heavily pursued by the new Unrivaled League, which is set to begin in Miami on January 17. The 6 teams' rosters were unveiled Wednesday, with Clark's name noticeably absent from the list, but fans had held out hope of the Indiana Fever star making a last-minute commitment, as 2 wildcard spots were left needing to be filled to round out the full 36 players. But their hopes were swiftly dashed when it was reported by ESPN Wednesday night that the 22-year-old had decided against playing in the inaugural season 3-on-3 league. The Breakaway League had reportedly launched a full court press to lure Clark to the upstart, including a reported $1 million joining offer. The Indiana Fever rookie sensation led the WNBA's popularity to soar to unprecedented heights this year, as she became a catalyst for a spike in viewership and attendance numbers. And Unrivaled had hoped that attracting Clark to the court during the off-season could have a similar effect. However, Clark had always remained non-committal on the idea of joining the league founded by WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. While she had stated that she would not participate in any off-season competition, she also didn't completely dismiss the idea either. "We'll see," Clark told Indy Star and ESPN earlier this month. "I don't know. Just taking it as it goes, and see if I want to play eventually." Meanwhile, Clark has been enjoying her off-season on the golf course, playing in 2 Pro-Am competitions, as she relaxes away from the court following a non-stop college schedule with Iowa and debut WNBA season with the Fever. Basketball fans had been left fuming at the league earlier Wednesday when, despite a number of heavy hints leading up to Wednesday's rollout, Clark was not listed with any of the league's 6 teams. Regardless, fans online were displeased to see Clark's name omitted Wednesday. "Unrivaled really dragged all this out for clicks only to have 2 unnamed wildcards," one fan wrote. "Beyond frustrating. Caitlyn is not joining the league, period. They ran out of time and players, so they're teasing to keep her fans engaged." Unrivaled appeared to drop a major hint about Clark earlier in the day. The league posted a form letter on its X page, telling followers to send this to your bosses and reminding them to watch the club selection show at 11 a.m. EST on Wednesday. Underneath the logo of State Farm Auto Insurance, a company endorsed by Clark, the form letter dropped a series of hints about the latest addition to a player pool that already includes WNBA stars Brittany Griner, Reese and Clark's Indiana Fever teammate, Aaliyah Boston. Dear Management, the form letter begins. What might seem like an average Wednesday in November is in fact a momentous occasion for those who follow women's professional basketball. It is at this point in the letter that Unrivaled begins dropping the number 22, which happens to be Clark's jersey at both Iowa and with the Fever. Please excuse, blank space, from 11 a.m. to 11:22 a.m. ET so that they can watch Unrivaled's basketball club selection, presented by State Farm. Of course, Clark wasn't the only possibility if we're reading the tea leaves. After all, three-time league MVP A'ja Wilson also happens to be number 22 in Las Vegas. Furthermore, Wilson has her own deal with State Farm. Unrivaled, a new 3-on-3 startup basketball league, officially unveiled its 6 rosters Wednesday, but some suspense still lingers. 34 of the 36 available spots were taken by players, but 2 were filled by placeholders, wildcards, that are still to be determined. Unrivaled didn't immediately announce which 2 players will take those spots, but the name Caitlyn Clark is naturally at the center of speculation after her excellent rookie season in the WNBA. Joining Unrivaled wouldn't take Clark away from the WNBA. In fact, the league is loaded with high-end WNBA talent, from Angel Reese and Brittany Griner to founders Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, and Clark could be the next to join. Here's what you need to know about Clark's Unrivaled status after Wednesday's player selections. 34 of Unrivaled's 36 players have been unveiled and placed on a roster, but Clark is not among them. ESPN's Michael Voepel reported that Clark won't be a part of Unrivaled during its inaugural season. 2 of Unrivaled's 6 teams only have 5 players on their 6-person roster, meaning they have open wildcard spots that still need to be filled. Anyone can fill those slots, and the league says it is looking for the best players it can find to take them. As of Wednesday, neither of the 2 wildcard spots had been filled. Clark theoretically could sign on to join the Stewart and Collier-founded setup. But based on Voepel's report, that doesn't seem likely to be the case. While Clark is keeping busy in the WNBA offseason and makes plenty of money through her many endorsement deals, joining Unrivaled represents one way for her to stay fresh, gain some 3-on-3 experience and make additional money during the long break between WNBA seasons. Clark had a marathon of a basketball year between 2023 and 2024, going from a run to the national championship game at Iowa to the WNBA floor with the Fever in a matter of 6 weeks in the spring. It seems she'll finally get a chance to rest during the off-season, much to Unrivaled's chagrin. Unrivaled unveiled its much-anticipated rosters Wednesday, but 2 spots were left open for wildcards. That means exactly what it sounds like, those final 2 slots are still up for grabs. Unrivaled President of Basketball Operations Luke Cooper broke down what to expect from the 2 wildcard spots during Wednesday's roster selection, explaining, "It's going to lead to 2 teams having an ability to go sign someone." Cooper said the wildcard situation isn't a content play and said the goal is still to try to fill those spots with the best players that we can. Clark would certainly fit that description, but it takes 2 to get a deal done. If Clark wants to participate in the league, it's hard to believe Unrivaled wouldn't have found a way to get her on one of the 2 rosters with a wildcard spot. The wildcard spots belong to the Lunar Owls Basketball Club and Phantom Basketball Club. Indiana Fever star Caitlyn Clark has decided not to play in Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 women's professional basketball league, according to Michael Voepel. Clark's decision not to accept an offer is a big blow for the upstart organization co-founded by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. Unrivaled, which has been years in the making, is set to tip off in January. The new league, which announced the rosters for its 6 teams on Wednesday, was created to offer WNBA players an alternative to going overseas during the off-season. For a long time, going overseas was the only option that people had in their off-season, and so this is kind of changing the narrative around that and giving another option, Collier said earlier this year. Overseas is a great option for some players, but it shouldn't be the only thing you can do to make money and play basketball and get better. Unrivaled reportedly put together a full-court press to try and convince Clark to join, which included a salary north of $1 million for the 8-week season. While it's still unclear exactly why Clark said no, she just completed a grueling run in which she played an entire NCAA and WNBA season in less than 12 months. With Clark reportedly out, the league will now turn its attention elsewhere to fill its last 2 spots. The initial plan was to have 30 of the top professional players in women's basketball, but on October 31st, Collier announced the league outperformed our financial projections, allowing them to expand the initial season to 36 players. Only 34 players have been confirmed thus far, however. Opening night is set for January 17th and the season will last for 8 weeks, with games on Monday, Friday and Saturday nights. Even though the league is 3-on-3, it will be played on a slightly smaller, full court with 4 7-minute quarters. A full set of rules has not yet been released, but Collier said it will look like normal basketball with more spacing. In addition to the league games, there will be a one-on-one tournament in February with $250,000 prize for the winner. While exact salaries were not disclosed, each player involved in the inaugural season will make a minimum of 6 figures and receive equity in the league. Women's sports is on such a rise, and it feels like everyone is benefiting from that except the women in the sport, and obviously that's something we're trying to change and then also create generational wealth for these women, Collier told We Need to Talk last year. From the beginning, Stewart and I really set out to create a league that was founded on that principle that players deserve compensation and ownership that reflect their value.